Hi you guys, my name is Cyan Martin and welcome to my YouTube channel. So recently I have been wanting to try to read a little bit more dark romances. I don't know why, but I just kind of want to see what it's all about. I've only really read a couple. I know that there are a lot of different tropes throughout the entire dark romance world, so we're doing it. And I thought there would be no better way to do this than to start off with one of the most talked about dark romances probably ever. I think everyone has already at least heard of this series, and that of course is The Cat and Mouse Duet by H.D. Carlton. I think it's Haunting Adeline and then Hunting Adeline. I've heard some things about this series. I have seen fan art of Zaid in this book, and I mean, I'm intrigued, to say the least. I have also heard about a certain scene that happens. I'm nervous about that. I'm honestly pretty nervous about this entire book because apparently it is a stalker romance. I don't know how I feel about that. It doesn't seem like something I'd be interested in, but then again, it's a book, so who knows? Maybe this author just did it right, and that's why so many people talk about this book, because so far what I've heard has been great things, honestly. I keep seeing TikToks about it, so it's finally time. We're going to read this, and we're going to see how we feel, and like I said, I'm just nervous. But yeah, it is The Cat and Mouse Duet, and every time I hear that, I think of Tom and Jerry. Fun fact, my mom and dad's name are Tom and Jerry, so there's no correlation. I just wanted to tell you guys that. Now let's just finally get into the vlog portion of today's video. You know how I said I wasn't sure if Haunting Adeline is the first book? It literally has a 1 at the top. That shows where my brain's at. Also, I read the trigger warnings and I'm just gonna read them to you guys because I think it's very important. This book ends on a cliffhanger. The contents are very dark with triggering situations such as non/dubcon between the main characters, graphic violence, human trafficking, stalking, child trafficking, child sacrifice, mentions of child death, and explicit sexual situations. There are also particular kinks such as gunplay, somnophilia, and I'm pretty sure that is the kink where you want your partner to be unconscious, which I'm not kink shaming because that is a kink, but I'm just gonna say you have to have a lot of trust because I mean, I guess if it's consensual, it's fine, but how do you know what they're doing to you when you're unconscious? I'd be worried. Anyways, bondage and degradation. This book was previously taken down due to the warning, but you can also find them in reviews on my website or feel free to message me directly. Your mental health matters. The child trafficking and sacrifice is making me a little bit worried. Your mental health does matter. So my question is, why am I doing this to myself? Also, look at how beautiful that is. And it's the manipulator. Who's the manipulator? Oh, it's the female main character, in case you were wondering. The manipulator. What is he called then? The Shadow. Okay, he is called the Shadow, and look at his page. But like, why aren't they just cat and mouse, you know? If that's what the series is called. Anyways, let's read. I'm on chapter 2, and there's already been a murder that takes place, so. He meets the main character, not even meets, he sees her at a bookstore and immediately decides that he's gonna become her stalker. I love it. He's stalking her. He breaks into her house, but he leaves her a rose. And he actually takes off the thorns so that it doesn't hurt her fingers. I have to stop because I'm going to make myself lunch, but I'm at chapter 10 right now. This book is about Addie and Zaid. Addie inherits like this old creepy mansion from her grandmother. She goes there to live there. At the same time, she kind of has this feeling that it's haunted. She also found in the house these diary entries from her grandmother, and her grandmother had a stalker years ago too. You kind of get like a letter after each chapter, and you can see that she's intrigued by her stalker, but the only difference is her grandmother was married, so like that's pretty messed up. So it's very crazy that Addie is basically going through the same situation. Maybe it's just a curse that this house slash family has, who knows. And Zaid is, like I said, her stalker, but he also works as like a computer hacker, and he basically finds sex traffickers and child predators and then he murders them, which is like fair enough. So you're just seeing what goes on in his life with his job. You're also seeing his point of view as he's stalking Addie. You see Addie's point of view, and I really like their internal monologue because they're both sarcastic and funny. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm going to cook lunch for Parker and I and sit down and eat with him, and then once he leaves for work, I'll probably just read some more and update you guys in a bit. Okay, so I am in my kitchen now because I really need to clean up before I go to the gym. I am going to buy the audiobook for this and listen to it while I clean and stuff like that because I have heard that the narrator for this audiobook just does a really great job, so I kind of want to listen to it, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And sometimes when I listen to audiobooks, I actually do wear headphones, but I'm the type of person that if I'm home alone and I have noise canceling headphones on, the entire time my brain will just convince me that someone broke into my house and is behind me. So the entire time I'll be doing stuff, and because I can't hear what's going on, I'll literally randomly just be like, and there's no one there. And I don't think this book would help. So I am going to listen to it just out loud. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. So cue the montage with copyright-free music. He didn't just send her roses. He sent her the hands of someone that he murdered. I listened to only one chapter of Haunting Adeline while I was cleaning up around the house and stuff, so I only got Adeline's point of view in that. I didn't even get to see or listen to Zaid's point of view and his narrator yet, but then I continued to read a little bit because I had some time, but now I'm going to the gym and I'm just going to listen where I left off. I left off on reading physically chapter 15, so we're just gonna do that while we drive and see what happens. Hi you guys, so it is a lot later. I went to the gym, I came home, ate, showered, and then I read for a good bit, but I didn't really have many updates. As you guys saw, when I was in the car on the way to the gym, maybe wasn't my best idea to listen to the audiobook because I was on chapter 16 and I did not know what that chapter was going to entail. If you know, you know. There's a certain scene in here that is very talked about, and it was that scene. I don't really know how I feel about it. I think one thing I don't really like is that there is it called like gray consent, where the character is not saying yes, but in her head, she kind of likes what's happening. And I personally do not like that at all because I just feel like, why isn't she just saying yes out loud? You know what I mean? And then the guy main character will be like, oh, her body's reacting in a way where I can tell that she wants it and she likes it, but she did not verbally say yes. So that's something I didn't necessarily like. I also just feel like it kind of contradicts everything he stands for because of his career, and then he's going to do that. Anyways, anyways, so far throughout the book, we're getting more information about Addie's grandmother, and she's looking more into her grandmother's death because her grandmother was actually murdered, and she's kind of learning more about it through these diary entries that she's found. Addie also has a best friend in here, and she's a really nice character, but I'm a little bit suspicious of her because her job seems similar to Zaid's. So do they work together? Does she know the whole time? I'm on to you. Is it Daya? But anyways, like I said, you're seeing Addie trying to figure out what happened to her grandmother. You also have Zaid doing his job, and there is like a pretty big sex trafficking ring that he's trying to bring down, and I feel like somehow Addie's gonna get wrapped up in that world because she already has had one experience with a guy who was part of the mafia, and then Zaid got mixed up in that, and it's just a whole bunch of bad stuff happening. So I feel like that's gonna be more into the plot as we go on. But besides that, this book is very spicy. I do like that it does have more of a plot. I feel like it's not just a stalker romance, but you are seeing Zaid and Addie interact more with one another instead of him just standing outside of her house and breaking in. So that's nice, I guess. But it really truly is actually a very fun dark romance, I'm not gonna lie. I am enjoying it. But right now I'm only about this much through, so I am on to chapter 22, and I'm just gonna keep reading and I will update you guys later. No, thank you. I love you. In a house of mirrors? Her name is Sibby. Sibby. What is that from? It's Gibby from iCarly. I'm getting tired, but I really want to keep reading, so I'm gonna stay up. Okay, guys, I am on chapter 32, and it's 2:21 in the morning. Can you see that? 2:21. Why am I awake? I don't really have much else to say except that the plot is getting really good, and so far there have been some dark topics, but I feel like it's mostly just talked about. You're not getting super graphic, in-depth details about the stuff where children are involved, which I really appreciate. Well, there is like one scene where he talks about a video and what he saw in that video of what was being done to a child. Even though it's still a little hard to read, it's not that hard because you're getting it from an outsider's point of view. I prefer that to, you know, being in the child's point of view while it's happening, or in the perpetrator's point of view while it's happening. So I do appreciate that, even though it's still a little bit tough. Does that make sense? It's a lot more than just a stalker romance. There's a whole other plot going on, and I am excited to continue reading it. And I was honestly gonna try to stay up, but I can't. So good night. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, you guys. So this morning, I finished Haunting Adeline, and this book, it was really, really fun. I'm not gonna lie, I did have a good time reading it. The very end really got me. It definitely does end on a cliffhanger to where now I have to keep reading. I need to read the second one to figure out what's gonna happen. So yeah, now I have the entire day to get into the second book, which of course is Hunting Adeline. Let's go ahead and start reading for the day. It is a lot later in the day. I have showered. I gave myself like a blowout with my Dyson because I've had it for forever and I just have not been able to figure it out. And I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if it looks good or not. Anyways, you don't care about my hair. We're here to talk about this book. So I am honestly like, I would say 50% of the way through. So I'm right there, and I stopped because we got to part 2 in the book. This is broken up into different parts and I can't say much without spoiling what happened throughout the first part. So that's why I just kind of read it. Didn't really update you guys because the first part is a continuation of the very first book and how that ends off, and also because it is just very dark and triggering. If you're someone like me that you don't ever check the trigger warnings, you don't think something's ever gonna trigger you, just be sure, because it definitely did trigger me in this book, because unfortunately there is a graphic depiction of sexual assault. But I took a break, took care of myself, and now I think I'm ready to pick it back up because I really just need this to end on a good note. We're gonna keep reading because the way part 1 ended, I know part 2 has to get better, okay? Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, Sibby. They're not real, Sibby. This is going great so far, cause I'm giggling, so. He's fucking glorious, and my heart wrenches with the reminder that this man, no, this God, is mine. Gag me. In the second half of this book, Zayd and Addie, they are going after, once again, this very big sex trafficking ring, and they are basically murdering everyone. So now they're teamed up together, and they are also teamed up with Sibby, who is a character that we met in the first book. I'm glad she came back in this book. Her character is a crazy one, but I honestly really love her. And you just kind of get to see them going through that in the second book. You also get to see Addie and Zayd's relationship kind of growing. There, of course, is a lot of smut in here. The storyline is so much more than people make it out to be. Like, it's not just a dark, smutty book. There's so much more that is going on in this series, even though at some points it does just get a little bit ridiculous and the smut like overtakes the plot. But I really do just love the banter. There's almost like a found family too with Sibby, Addie, and Zayd, and I like that for some reason, even though they're all messed up in the head for different reasons. But yeah, that was that series. It's 12:26 and I have a lot of energy, and I was spending some time looking through like TikToks and stuff like that about this series, and I actually learned that there is a novella and it's Sibby's story, and it was technically supposed to come first, but I'm still gonna read it because I like Sibby's character and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, I'm gonna read that now. I finished reading Satan's Affair, which is the novella. This one is just Sibby's story, and honestly, I'm pretty sure where I read it said that it is supposed to be the prequel novella, so like you read it before you read the cat and mouse duet. I think I liked the fact that I didn't know about it and ended up reading it after, because Sibby doesn't even get introduced until a good chunk through the first book. So if you read the novella and then you go into the book, you're probably gonna be wondering, like, when is Sibby gonna show up? What was the point of her story when we're reading all about these two completely different characters? So I think if you read the cat and mouse duet first, and then you read Satan's Affair and you get Sibby's story, you kind of appreciate her story a little bit more. However, Sibby's story, she is a character that you meet in the cat and mouse duet, and she is very sick and twisted. She is also a killer, but you kind of think that she is also killing for a good reason, but you're also conflicted because you don't know if her reasoning is actually valid or not. I will just say there is also a good bit of smut in these books, and I personally don't really love seeing Sibby in these smut scenes, especially in Satan's Affair, because when she's first introduced, she's working at a carnival and she's dressed up as like a doll, and she's just described, and the way she acts too, and even her voice is described as like very childlike. And so for me, it was so weird to be picturing her as childlike in a smut scene. Even though I think she's technically an adult, it still just felt wrong almost. So that's my only complaint about that. But now let's do a little bit of a recap. So the very first book, Haunting Adeline, I gave that one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think it's fun, smutty, dark, twisted. The second book, that one I did give 3.75. It's a lot heavier, a lot more darker themes. And then Satan's Affair, I gave 3 stars. I give all novellas 3 stars just because there's not much going on. They're kind of in the middle for me, and I feel like it's just unfair to give them anything else. But yeah, that is it. I hope all of you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video and hanging out with me. I'm gonna go to bed now, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye!